Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdog's Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini episode, I've got two more great paranormal stories to read to you today, folks. One, this woman encounters this mysterious light, and the other story? Another, well, in my opinion, dragon encounter, folks. So, let's read the first one. Mysterious encounter in lost time, possible abduction experienced in Franklin County, New York, and read exactly what happened. After moving to a peaceful lakefront property in Franklin County, New York, Rose began hearing strange nocturnal noises and witnessing unexplainable lights. She experienced a blinding yellow glow, lost several hours, and awoke with lingering fear, convinced she may have been abducted. Let's read her full account now. Hi Lon, my friend recommended your blog to me in hopes of finding answers to my many questions. When my husband of 28 years passed away in 2001, I decided to leave the noise and violence of New York City behind and move to a more peaceful location. After a 2-year search, I purchased a 16-acre lakefront property in Franklin County, New York. I had a medium-sized cottage constructed along with various amenities. Everything was wonderful. My children and grandchildren would occasionally spend weekends with me, and I found several friendships with residents. In the spring of 2009, I decided to start a garden in my backyard. I hired someone to plow the plot as it had previously been forest land. Around that time, I began to hear strange noises at night. They sounded like whispers, but there were also instances of shouting and whooping. I even caught glimpses of lights streaking through my yard and into the adjoining woods. This activity continued for many months, but suddenly stopped in early October. The strange noises returned after I started planting the garden in spring 2013. This time, I heard a deep groaning sound coming from the woods, resembling the growl of a large dog, but much louder. These noises occurred intermittently most nights, and they ended once again in early October. I informed my children and others about the sounds, and they tried to figure out what it could be, but it remained a mystery. I later learned that my property was part of a 17th century Native American settlement, although I have no proof of that. This is where my story becomes unclear. In the summer of 2014, while I was working in my yard and trimming bushes in the early evening, I suddenly heard a loud buzzing sound above me. When I looked up, a warm, bright yellow light enveloped me, and that's all I remember. My next memory is of waking up on my living room davenport. I sat up, glanced at the clock, and saw that it was about 4:45 p.m. I immediately felt scared. I had no idea what had happened to me. Since then, I have experienced unforeseen anxiety and fear. I have not noticed any physical or mental changes. My children and friends are aware of the incidents, but they haven't observed anything different in me. I am seeking a reasonable explanation, but my inquiries often lead back to a single conclusion, that I was abducted and experienced lost time. I have spoken with others who've had similar experiences, and the results have been consistent. Do you have any information that you could share with me? I would greatly appreciate your assistance. Best, Rose. There's also a note, folks. I spoke with Rose, and she agreed to let me share most of her email. We had a lengthy and in-depth conversation about her experiences. I offered my insights and will continue to work with her. She has researched various abduction groups online and has talked to several other experiencers. While she is considering regression therapy, she is understandably cautious about pursuing that route. As for Rose, finding a reasonable explanation, that may not be possible. In the meantime, I'm sure she will consider any meaningful and impartial advice. Lon. Indeed, folks, I think Rose is a very reasonable person and will accept any advice anyone can give her about this subject, because she is in desperate need of knowing exactly what happened to her. And while she does think it was an alien abduction, there are also other things to consider about this case, folks, like the weird sounds that she hears out in the woods, which is not unprecedented in various alien abduction cases, folks, with weird sounds out in the woods. But there is the fact that, well, you kind of get the feeling that the land she's on is haunted. The growls, the whooping sounds, they sound like they are the sounds of, well, restless spirits out in the woods. But then again, she's also seen lights on this land, so it sounds like maybe she planted her house on an area that could distinctly be a window area where this sort of phenomena takes place. So it's no wonder that she basically became the victim of an alien abduction, perhaps. Either way, folks, very interesting. But let's move on to the next article. Twin-winged reptilian sightings over Voorhees, New Jersey. It read exactly, well, what these people saw. That sounds to me like very much like another dragon sighting, but this time in New Jersey. So let's read on. A New Jersey driver recalls two startling encounters, first in 2004 near Marlton and later in Voorhees on October 30th, 2016, each involving a massive bat-winged reptilian creature gliding silently overhead. The second sighting, marked by glowing red eyes, left the witness shaken and convinced that he had seen something far beyond any known bird or animal. Hello, I read about that flying dragon over South New Jersey in Weird, New Jersey, and I've had a very similar experience twice. The first time was about 12 years ago in March. I was driving near Marlton, New Jersey, in the Voorhees area at around 3 o'clock p.m. when I looked up and saw this giant creature flying. I was in complete shock because I couldn't believe the size of it. The sun was still out, so I had a clear view. It was not a bird, as it had neither feathers nor fur. Its gigantic wings resembled those of a bat, and it had a reptilian head, just as the other person had described. I was in the car with my family, and by the time I could point it out, it had already flown away. Its skin was a light beige color, and it didn't even flap its wings. It just glided. It was flying very low and almost resembled a pterodactyl. It does sound like a pterodactyl to me as well, folks, but what was it actually for real? It sounds like it could possibly have been, maybe, literally, maybe a thunderbird sighting, or indeed, maybe this guy was right, it was a pterodactyl, or even, as other people have basically said before, folks, it was a dragon sighting. No one really knows for sure, folks, and certainly a very startling encounter this man had. But what was more interesting so far, folks, is that he is among a small group who've basically experienced seeing, well, supernatural and very bizarre things again. And this time, folks, this guy basically saw possibly the same creature again of all things. Now, folks, when people experience more than one sighting of paranormal phenomena, usually it's basically some guy sees an light in the sky, and then maybe they see a ghost sometime later in their life. But here, this guy saw this creature, which basically sounds to me like it should basically be a rare thing, twice. And only over 12 years, folks. That is certainly very interesting. Either way, let's continue with this story. The second time was actually in Voorhees. I was driving home at night last year around 9 o'clock p.m. On October 30th, 2016, I saw a creature with the same body shape, but it was slightly smaller and flew lower than the first one. The freaky part about this one was that its eyes glowed a bright red, similar to car headlights. The sight of its eyes scared me so much that I couldn't tell anyone for at least 2 days. This one also appeared to have a darker skin tone, or maybe it was just the time of day when I saw it. I had a perfect look at both creatures. I'm well aware of all the animals that live around me, and this was unlike anything I've ever seen. I didn't experience any foul sense because I didn't roll down my window or exit my car. I wanted to share my experiences as they may be helpful to others. Thanks, RF. Another intensely bizarre story from RF here, folks. Did he indeed see dragons, or were they pterodactyls? Or perhaps, remember, folks, this is a recent phenomena, so maybe what he saw were two robotic drones, maybe possibly created by some inventor as a lark, perhaps? Or maybe they were military drones disguised as, well, I guess, flying animals? But I kind of have my doubts about that, folks. But then again, we don't know for sure about what the government does. But I could see someone, or even the government, basically inventing, well, drone pterodactyls as a sort of experiment, perhaps. Maybe to test if they could, or maybe to test, well, what kind of drone designs are actually possible. I say this because a couple of months ago, I did a video where I mentioned, well, basically drones created from the dead bodies of birds. But this sounds like something similar, perhaps. Maybe some inventor made a mock-up of a pterodactyl or a dragon and created a drone out of it for his own purposes, perhaps. But is that really what happened here, folks, or is it something else entirely? Now, both accounts of alien abduction and the sightings of these dragon-like cryptids, they're both fascinating, folks. But do you believe them? There's a chance that indeed these witnesses are telling the truth, folks, but we can't be for sure. Either way, we're at the end, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics That Are Bad For You. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions of the chat to go subscribe to me. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Make sure to hit the part of the bell that'll give you all future notifications, and please share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so be sure to come back again then. Till next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.